Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whiskey. My name's Vin PF, and on today's episode we're going to be covering something a little English and maybe even a little bit special. On the table today we have the new release from Samuel Gulliver Co. Although, I have to say, as akin to some of the previous releases, they're not massively big on kind of putting their own livery all over this. That's cool. I mean, you can definitely tell it's them if you have it against their other bottles, but if I show you the box, for instance, here, on the front of it, you won't see their kind of name at all. It's only really on the top here. So they're going big on the whole, like, you know, English kind of vibes about this thing. And like I said, I really like that. And I really like that about the kind of Cotswolds one they've done before. You know, they could have put Cotswolds all over it, but really it's just a wee little word on the back of the label. But in any case, what we've got here today is England Rugby's new official whiskey. Now this has come apart, this is literally an official bottling for the RFU, English Rugby, and it's the first time they've ever done it, which I think is why it's probably a little bit special. And if you're here because you're not necessarily a whiskey drinker, that's why it's going to be special for you. Obviously the reviews here I do today is going to come out from a whiskey drinker's point of view. I have to say, full disclosure, I'm not a rugby fan. I do watch the Six Nations, which is on, if you're watching this just after I've released this video, then you'll know that the Six Nations is on right now, so it's a really timely way of bringing this one out. It actually got released in December 2021, but it was exclusively for RFU members at the time, and now it's going to be released to the wider world. I think right now you can get hold of this just on the Samuel Gulliver's website. There'll be a link in the description below, of course. And then pretty soon it's going to be on Master of Malt and whatnot. And if you're a retailer watching this, of course, do get in touch with Samuel Gulliver Co. and see if you can get an allocation of it. So yeah, this is England's number 6. Interesting kind of name to call it that. It is a 6-year-old whiskey, of course, but really it's to pay homage to the great players who have held the number 6 number on their back over the years, and that's what this little extra bit of fluff here is. It's kind of like a wee, if you're interested in such things, it's like a homage to all the different players over the years who have held the number 6 number. I have to say, I'm not really into rugby, so I don't know who any of these people are, but an interesting read nonetheless. And if you are a rugby fan, then you may be interested in that. Okay, so let's talk about the actual liquid inside for a little bit. So this is made at the St George's Distillery, aka English Whisky, over in Norfolk. It's aged for 6 years, it's 46%, it's been finished in rum casks, which it quite clearly says on the label here. You can see, nice little looking label, just here, finished in rum casks. We like that, which is interesting in itself. We don't often get many rum casks available. You know, they're coming through these days, but they're not the most prevalent finish, that's for sure. There's 3,500 bottles in this first batch. So again, you know, if you're into such things, if you're into collecting such things, you know, to reiterate, it is a first for English Rugby to have a kind of official whiskey. So if you're into that just for itself, then you know it might be worth looking at. I said it's 46%, and this sells for £69, and we'll get into that a little bit later about what we think. Let's get into the actual whiskey and see what we've got. Obviously, as I said earlier, I'm a whiskey drinker predominantly, so I'm going to review this as I would any other whiskey. It doesn't mention, I did scour, it doesn't mention anything about natural colouring, non-chill filtered, but I know that's kind of what they're known for, Samuel Gulliver Co. So I'm going to assume that it's both of those things, like, you know, non-chill filtered, natural coloured, but I don't know for sure. I have to say that the colour is fairly pale, straw-like, but that's good. We like that. That's kind of indicative that it is natural colour. A 6-year-old whiskey aged in the English climate is probably going to be about that. But let's get onto the nose and see what we've got, shall we? It's worth noting, while I'm nosing, that in my opinion, it's very, very, very important to leave this out on the side for me, it was about 15 minutes. But when I first got the bottle, again, neck pour, don't judge it on its neck pour. I'm reviewing it, you know, down on the shoulder, a little bit just below the shoulder line. And yeah, it was a bit hot and heavy to start with, but leaving it out on the side just to let those initial flavours kind of evaporate a little bit really did this wonders, really did it wonders. And now it's got this fantastic nose. Not to say it didn't before, but now it's really opened up. For me, it's bags of vanillas, butterscotch, and on the back end we're getting kind of a little bit of apricot, a little bit of banana. Probably from the rum cask influence, of course, but I'm not sure what the finishing term was, but usually when people talk about finish, they're talking about sort of 6 months or so. That's a kind of a good term of finishing. Can be up to 2 years or more, but it is what it is. Let's try on the palate. Okay, so it's a forgive me the sporting reference, but it's a kind of a palate of two halves. So the first half is where all your sweetness comes through. So for me, I'm getting more of those sweet tropical notes, bananas, and even a little bit of kind of desiccated coconut, and then kind of more of those things like vanillas and butterscotch. Nothing too outlandish at all. So even though it's been kind of finished in these rum casks, it really is kind of a typical tasting Scotch. It isn't overbearing at all, which is good. I think it's good. It'll have like a maximum general appeal. Now, and then I said it's in two halves. So once the sweetness disappears, you get this kind of hot, fiery pepperiness at the back end. And for me, the sweetness dies off. I was going to say fairly quickly, but that's not really fair. It's more like medium length finish with the kind of sweetness, but then there's more on top of that. The pepperiness just keeps going on and on and on and on and on. So yeah, the initial sweetness dies out a little bit, and then the pepperiness just takes over, just keeps going. Really nice, really tingly. In fact, makes me want to have another sip, so I'm gonna. Always a good sign. Some of the things I talk about on finishes are like ends in a sour note or ends in a kind of drying note. Not getting that with this at all. Although the sweetness disappears, the pepperiness doesn't sour out or anything like that. Really enjoy that. Yeah, I have to say, a really tasty dram. Very much enjoy the presentation of it, and it's a whiskey that I'm definitely going to enjoy. Coming full circle then back to the price. It's £69, which is quite expensive. I think it's worth it if you are a collector and you're into that kind of like collecting vibe. This is batch number 1. And when it's gone, it's going to be gone. They're going to release more batches of this, I'm sure. I think the terms of the deal are quite long term, so there's definitely going to be more of it. So if you're interested in collecting and being part of that history of it all, then for sure, you're going to drop that 70 quid on it. But for me as a whiskey drinker, I think it's probably just a touch too high, probably about £10 maybe. I would have loved to have seen this at sort of £59 to match the rest of the range that they're releasing. I'm not sure if the costs are higher for this. It's rum cask finish, might have been some cask costs or something like that. But yeah, that's just my personal opinion. Don't let that take away from the actual whiskey itself. It's a really lovely whiskey, very much enjoying it, and I'm definitely going to enjoy it as it goes down. Just my personal opinion on that kind of final price point. But yeah, for me, an absolute winner. If you're into rugby or if you're into English whisky or anything like that, then please do go and check them out. You can make your own decisions, and there'll be links in the description below to check all that stuff out. Let me know what you think if you've tried this, or if you're into the kind of like rugby collaboration. I do like these kind of collaborative whiskies. It's bringing whiskey to the forefront and to more people, and I enjoy that. We're in the middle of the boom right now, so let's keep that going. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you again on more No Nonsense Whiskey videos.